I'm Jeff Hunt. He's Bill Thorpe. What are we going to do with fentanyl?
Wait, fentanyl's not a vitamin? I've been using it wrong.
Stay away from that.
Okay, good.
Fentanyl's a weird drug, by the way.
Weird.
I am kind of borderline obsessed with how drugs enter into our culture, destroy it, all that stuff. And there's a really interesting book out there called The Least of Us, which traces the how basically fentanyl entered our culture. It started out created in a lab in Switzerland, I think, or Brussels or something like that.
Over there, yeah.
And it was basically designed because the fatty layers of your brain absorbs like 30% of morphine. So when you give somebody morphine, only a portion of it actually gets through and numbs. So they're like, can we like basically engineer this puzzle piece drug that could slide through the fatty layers of your brain and be like 100% effective?
Yeah, it was supposed to be better morphine, and we created it through the magic of chemistry.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then it got out, and then China figured out how to create it. And at one point, where I am in the book now, you could just order this and it was shipped to you.
Oh, jeez.
Like that's how it entered into Ohio and all these, and then that got shut down. So and then Mexico's like, well, you can send it to us, and China's not really all that interested in addressing it. So
brings us back to the days here where our children's cough syrup contained alcohol. Right. Wonder why little Johnny settled down after the little night juice. Strangely enough.
So wild, but it's killing so many people in America. 100,000 a year was the record. And so it's got to be addressed. Of course, the libs here in Colorado are like, oh, we just need to hug our way out of our drug addictions. And if you remember Heroin Barbie and the drug use sites that wanted to be created in Denver, we've gone through this whole progressive disaster in Colorado, and Democrats can't get the drug issue right at all because they don't want to hold anybody personally accountable. So it's up to the voters to step in, and fortunately Advance Colorado has a ballot initiative to recriminalize fentanyl possession as a felony. It's going to be on your ballot. It just got the signatures, just got approved. First thing approved on the ballot. And we're going to talk with KBB Christy Burton Brown of Advance Colorado. Coming up, now those the news.
Blake Olson.
Blake Olson, news and comment.
Good Tuesday morning, 38 with some clouds in Denver, expecting a high of 65 today. News sponsored by Pastor Camp Heating and Air Conditioning at 303-777-1234 to learn more about special savings opportunities on Lennox equipment. Our top story, be prepared, XL may shut it down tomorrow. They're considering a power shutdown for a large swath of the Front Range because strong winds are in the forecast tomorrow and could start wildfires. Excel's Andrew Holder.
The area where we are going to see extreme wildfire risk environment, which includes the high wind event, additionally to that with relatively low humidity, and also where the vegetation or the fuel moisture index next to our assets are in a drier condition.
Excel says it sent warning notifications to customers living inside the areas where it's possible power could be turned off, saying a shutoff is likely from noon to 6 o'clock tomorrow night. The utility says this option is to protect people from wildfires. DJT spoke for the first time about Tina Peters since pardoning her, says Governor Polis is incompetent and won't release Peters from jail because they said she was cheating. 47 says she wasn't cheating. She was exposing it.
And because she did that, they put her in jail for 9 years. The governor of Colorado is a weak and pathetic man who was run by Tren de Aragua, the criminals from Venezuela, took over sections of Colorado, and he was afraid to do anything. But he puts Tina in jail for 9 years because she caught people cheating. And when she walked over and got involved in it, they said she was cheating. She wasn't cheating. She caught people cheating on the election, 2020, along with a lot of other people that cheated on that election. You'll see that coming out more and more.
A manhunt is intensifying. A reward is being offered for information on the suspect in the deadly terror attack. That's what it was at Brown University.
New surveillance images have been released, and FBI Director Kash Patel says information leading to the identification, arrest, and conviction of the individual could lead to an award of up to $50,000. The suspect is described as a man standing around 5'8" with a stocky build. The public is encouraged to share any personal videos or photographs of the December 13th incident with the FBI. Tips can be reported at 1-800-CALL-FBI. I'm Natalie Migliori, NBC News Radio.
And the police chief won't say what the murderer screamed before he started shooting.
There's a report the shooter yelled something right before his shot came in. Can you tell us what that was?
Yeah, it's part of the investigation.
Is there anything else inside that auditorium that you could tell us?
No, that's...
Did he yell though? Did he say something?
That's something that we're investigating. We took statements and we have to confirm.
Is there any audio from the scene? Any cell phones? There are a lot of cell phones there.
We're gonna wrap it up here.
Yeah, we're going to shut it down right now. Gad said, says it best about Islam following the terrorist attack in Australia. He's the author of Suicidal Empathy on Jesse Waters last night.
I don't like the term they can get radicalized. It's as though that's outside the religion, right? There is no Islamism. There is no radical, violent, extremist militantism, right? You don't just add a bunch of isms and a bunch of qualifiers so that you can hallucinate about it being different from Islam. Islam is a codified set of ideas. If I choose to ignore much of it, I will be peaceful. If I choose to take it seriously, I won't be peaceful.
Great point. 32-year-old Nick Reiner will have his first court appearance today in L.A. He's being held without bond in connection with the stabbing murders of his father, Rob Reiner, and wife, Michelle. That may be the absolute very worst way to go, possibly horrible. Donald Trump Jr. and socialite Bettina Anderson are engaged to be married. Don Jr. works for the Trump Organization alongside his brother Eric. Candace Owens and Erica Kirk met in Nashville yesterday on Monday, and they talked for about 4.5 hours.
And I'm sorry, I was going to do a show for you guys this evening, but I am truly exhausted. Very productive conversation. I asked every single question. I mean, from Egyptian planes to Turning Point USA Faith. And I was very surprised by some of the answers that I got. And I think they were also very surprised when I shared certain intel. This probably should have happened a very long time ago, but I wanted to let you guys know that I am alive, and I will have the full rundown for you guys tomorrow.
I am alive. Okay.
But she's now part of the conspiracy.
Yeah,
Dun,
dude,
dun,
she has so painted herself into a corner on this one. My favorite line was from Erica Kirk's tweet yesterday, "Time to get back to work." Which I just thought was shade thrown. Like,
see, I disagree with that.
I've got stuff to do. The stupid distractions done.
I think she needs to take time for herself with her kids. I think it's a huge mistake that she can be named the CEO, but putting her out front and all this stuff, I think that was a huge mistake. I think.
Well, I think the problem is momentum. And this is the problem that I can see her as a parent, and after losing a spouse.
Yeah.
This is the difficult dance is her spouse's life's work is wrapped up in Turning Point, and she has been named the CEO and also the face of the organization. And if she goes away for 6 months, even 3 months, there is momentum that is lost because you have, as even Jeff and I have talked, different college campuses dealing with having chapters and the tumultuous relationship that Turning Point is having. You have a movement inside of Texas that they're trying to put a Turning Point chapter into every high school. And they need someone out there that is the face of the program in order to keep that momentum going. And unfortunately, I don't think there is at this point a better choice than Erica because of the connection with Charlie and because of her position. I may make a different decision on who that leader would be personally, but that's why I think she has to do it.
Yeah, I agree with you because I think it's seasonal. I think it's just part of the transition.
Yeah.
But look, conservative entities have had to deal with division. In the past, what comes to mind is what happened to Phyllis Schlafly.
That's a good point, yeah.
She was a major figure in stopping the Equal Rights Amendment, was peak conservative influencer. And then her family split over her legacy, and there's actually two like Phyllis Schlafly entities right now, one that's run by her son and one that's run by her daughter. So, I think it was meant to maintain the direction of Turning Point USA and the impact it was making. But I think within a year from now, Erica will have less of a day-to-day management role. And
I think that's a good idea.
And I think that personally, I would advise her to curtail some of the media interviews. I understand that you want to step into the spotlight as often as possible, but I think there is some positives on the messaging side where if she said, you know what, I'm going to not take this interview and this interview and this interview because the kids and I are going to X, whatever that is.
Yes.
I think that would help maintain the higher profile. But here's the problem, though, with that is I also think, and Jeff may disagree with me, that in order to maintain that higher profile, if Erica steps away, she's going to have to open the curtains on some of her private life. And what I mean by that is, let's say we're taking time away because the kids and I are going to do some stuff for Christmas. If it's decorating cookies, she better have a video and pictures of them decorating cookies. And that's difficult because now you're bringing the kids into the spotlight. So I don't think there's necessarily a great path forward, but I would advise her at times to pull back from this almost omnipresent media tour that seems to be going on, because that can end up super saturating the market and look like ask questions that some of us are asking in the audience as to where are the kids, why aren't you taking time, how is this work-life balance working out for you? Yeah.
I couldn't agree more. I'm right there with you on that. Monday Night Football. Last night, Steelers over the Dolphins 28-15. Aaron Rodgers threw for over 220 yards, 2 touchdowns. Steelers have not lost a Monday Night Football game at home since the early 90s. Rockets at the Nuggets last night in Lodo, and it goes to overtime, 128-125 Nugs. Nikola Jokic after the game.
I mean, they're a really talented team, They have a lot of weapons. They are really good in defense. They're big and tall. They attack the offensive glass. So, I mean, they're a really good team. And we tried to defend the home court because we lost, I think, 4 in a row. So it was a really good game for us.
But he was better. 39, 15, and 10. 2 steals and 2 blocks. Avalanche at Seattle tonight. And bowl game action tonight. Yes! Party at my house. Come on up. Troy takes on Jack State. Let's go. Go Trojans. 37 in Parker, 36 in Arvada, 38 in Denver. You're waking up with Jeff and Bill. Blake Olson, News Talk, 710 KNUS.
Your 710 5-day forecast, a mild start to our Tuesday with morning temperatures in the upper 30s. Skies going to be mostly clear. Brisk winds and sunny for Tuesday, highs in the mid-60s and lows upper 30s, low 40s Tuesday night. Partly cloudy into early Wednesday. Wednesday mid-60s with strong winds developing in the afternoon through the evening. Some evening rain showers as well. Cold front will drop our lows into the upper 20s. Meteorologist Don Watzel in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Come on. You got some background on this, Mr.
Yeah,
Joy?
we've done some of this before. This didn't want to be recorded at the time when it was written because it was viewed as a kid's song, and it would be too much of a novelty. We've talked about it before. It was one of Frankie Valli's first hits with the Four Seasons, and in fact sets the table for their number one hit, Walk Like a Man. This ends up breaking into the top 40 or top 20 for them as a holiday song. But this is written back in, like the mid-30s is when this is originally penned. And this is Bing Crosby, one of the early recordings. So, yeah.
Great.
This is kind of a fun one.
All right, headline coming from the Denver Post. Colorado voters will decide on harsher penalties for fentanyl on the 2026 ballot. First measure to qualify for next year's election. You all out there are going to be voting on this one. I am so very grateful for the wonderful work of Advance Colorado because they found a way in the midst of a total blue domination of this state to get some common sense legislation passed. Oh, thank God for Advance Colorado. Joining us now, Christy Burton Brown with Advance Colorado. Good morning, Christy. Thank you for taking time to join us.
Yes, good morning. Thanks for the time.
Good morning, Jeff and Bill.
All right, y'all went out there. You did the work. I think it was 188,000 signatures to win a spot on the ballot. Tell us what this ballot initiative is going to do with regards to fentanyl.
Absolutely. And incidentally, this ballot measure was one of the easiest to collect signatures on ever that we've participated in because so many people across the state would come up when they'd sign it and tell us stories of a family member or a friend or someone they knew who'd been affected by fentanyl or died by fentanyl in our state. So this is just an issue that resonates across the board, everywhere in the state, every kind of person, every demographic. And what it would do is two things. There's two really important prongs of this measure. First of all, it cracks down on drug dealers. Right now in Colorado, you can actually deal up to a gram of fentanyl and not go to jail for it. And which is just incredibly disturbing to many people. That would kill thousands upon thousands of people. A gram of fentanyl is extremely poisonous. I mean, a couple little pieces of fentanyl on the tip of a pencil can kill someone. So you can imagine what a gram could do. So what we say in the measure is that if you are dealing fentanyl, any amount of fentanyl, if your other drugs are laced with fentanyl and you are dealing fentanyl that way, you will go to jail. You will be subject to an 8 to 32-year jail sentence. And of course, the district attorney can work with the person and try and get the mid-level dealers to tell them who the ringleaders are. They can use that as leverage if that's what they want to do to catch the real drug ringleaders in our state and the gangs that are doing this internationally. So it's just going to be a powerful tool for the district attorneys to really crack down on the sale and dealing of fentanyl in our state. But the other piece that I think is also essential is a compassionate way to treat people who are addicted to fentanyl. And so the measure does say that if you possess fentanyl, so you're a user at a low level, you'll be charged with a felony, but it will be lowered to a misdemeanor if you agree to go to court-mandated treatment. Because we see way too many people who are using fentanyl and not getting the help and treatment that they need. And so this is a way to compassionately push them into the treatment programs that they need and make sure that their lives are changed and reformed in a really good way.
That's Christy Burton Brown with Advance Colorado. Christy, look, the state's been electing Democrats. Democrats believe in the what I call the hug model, that if you just hug somebody, then their drug addiction might magically disappear. They've wanted to have needle injection sites, quote-unquote safe needle injection sites. I mean, the proponents of that got elected to Congress. Brittany Pedersen. They seem to be rewarded by the electorate in Colorado if they're weak on drug crimes. And yet you're telling me that when you talk to people, they were so eager to sign this. Help me understand that disconnect that's happening there.
Sure, and it is disturbing when you see that kind of a disconnect. But I think a lot of average people on the street don't necessarily know every single issue that the legislators at the Capitol work on every day. And so, Brittany Pedersen didn't run around campaigning for Congress on legalizing drugs. That's not what she campaigned on. She did that at the Capitol in Denver, but had a very different message when she ran for Congress. So I do think we have a lot of people out there who, if the issue isn't right in their face, that's probably not what they're thinking about when they're voting, unfortunately. This measure, when we were collecting signatures for it across the state, it literally did put it right in front of people and said, hey, do you want to send drug dealers to jail here in Colorado and get them off our streets so they stop killing our kids? And do you think people who are users deserve a compassionate push into treatment and rehab so that they can recover and be the kind of members of society that they want to be? And so I think that's the difference. Sometimes the issue when it's right in front of people's face, they absolutely agree with us. This measure polls extremely high. I think it balances the scale right, giving law enforcement what they need, but still treating users with compassion. And I think eventually solving the issue as much as we can in a state like Colorado of pushing these drug rings and drug dealers out of the state. Like if you know you could go to jail for helping a drug ring or an international cartel distribute their drugs in the state, that is a very different scenario than we're dealing with in Colorado right now, where you might get right back out on the street, might get probation for a while, you maybe go to jail. This is like, no, you're going to go to jail. And I think that's a much more powerful way of dealing with it.
Well, I think Colorado voters are recognizing that it's clearly not working when they're opening garages in Douglas County to record fentanyl pills. What was it, like 1 million pills or something were found by the DEA recently? Not in seedy parts of Denver. No, storage units in Douglas County. So clearly the I-25, I-70 corridor has become a major hub for the Mexican cartels and drug trafficking. So combating this is going to require stronger measures to penalize people. But look, in the article in the Denver Post, you still have those folks out there. Initiative 85 would make possession of any amount of fentanyl a felony, even if someone had no idea fentanyl was in the drug they had, said the executive director of the Harm Reduction Action Center in Denver. This burdens folks, especially youth with felony convictions that make it harder to find a job, secure housing, and rebuild their lives. Others saying that this is just hearkening back to the dangerous, failed war on drugs. What's your response to those folks?
Sure. I mean, intentionally or not, they're lacing their comments with a whole lot of deception that just flat out isn't true. It's not going to ring true for voters. And I think I'll point out a few of those. First of all, fentanyl. Talk to any person who has had a family member die from fentanyl or be addicted to fentanyl, and they will tell you how different this drug is than a lot of the other ones we're dealing with. Like I said, a few grains of fentanyl, the tip of a pencil, can kill people. We have families, organizations of families who've partnered with us in this campaign who tell the story of their teenage or college age son or daughter who thought they were taking a Xanax and ended up being sold a fentanyl pill and died the next morning. I mean, this is an incredibly serious type of drug that we're dealing with. And the opposition gives no acknowledgement to that whatsoever, just how deadly this drug is. It's not like, oh, you might get addicted and survive. It's like your likelihood of dying is incredibly high. And then I think, in addition to that, they are acting like this applies to youth and teenagers. They're completely wrong. They need to actually talk to some district attorneys and law enforcement. Minors are governed under they'd be charged under the law differently. This is like the adult criminal code that we are changing here with this ballot measure. So they're entirely wrong that that's how teenagers or youth would be treated. And then the last point I'll make, and I think this one is really important, is that, they're talking about, if you possess it, you're going to have a felony. They're entirely overlooking the court-mandated treatment part of that. Yes, you could be charged with a felony if you possess a low-level amount of fentanyl. But if you agree to go to court-mandated treatment, it gets reduced to a misdemeanor because we want to push these people into the treatment they need so that they can recover. Like, that's the compassionate way to handle this, is say, you are addicted. It's really dangerous. It could kill you. Let's give that leverage to push you into the treatment you need. And they're completely overlooking that. And I think it's really unfair for people out there who are struggling with this issue and want that kind of treatment.
I also think, Christy Burton Brown from Advanced Colorado, that there is a level of not understanding the constraints that this measure would put on the consumer market, because there are going to be people that, and again, once you get into the deep drug addiction, their behaviors are going to be different. But it's the people on the front end of that journey, knowing that it is a possible felony for simply buying one pill from one person at one time, that can be a significant deterrence to start exploring the idea of that black market drug. So I think there is some deterrent factor in this. And one of the things I really appreciate is the idea of, even if you're just possessing it and it is only personal use, that in and of itself is a felony. But if you go to substance abuse programs, then you get that knocked down to a misdemeanor. I think that's a wonderful incentive. Question I have is, does that misdemeanor then carry forward? And what I want to say is, if I get pinched a second time for another pill 6 months, 8 months, a year down the road, is that one also a felony? And does my prior misdemeanor then become a felony? Is that addressed inside the law? I don't think it's a weakness one way or another. It was just a question I have.
No, it's a great question. And no, we did not make it where, compounding misdemeanors turn into a felony for possession. Because our focus here really was on the dealers, and that the current law in Colorado, passed by the party in control, doesn't deal with dealers in an effective way to get them out of our state or to put them in jail. And so that was our focus. And so we just wanted to address, the low-level users, how to get them into treatment. There's no compounding here.
And I'm not certain that compounding the felonies would necessarily be better for the user, because if they're back into the throes of addiction, giving them another felony isn't necessarily going to be a deterrent. If they've already made the choice to be possessing at that time after they've gone through the program, another felony isn't gonna stop them. But I do think there's a lot of benefit to that 8 to 30-year jail sentence, because it does allow some negotiation there on the part of the district attorney. I think that is fantastic. That it's not a idea that you're going to spend, the rest of your life in prison. This is absolutely going to be used as a tool for investigators going forward. And I love the fact that it is down below $1,000, that it's like, no, you're doing this for sale, etc. It doesn't matter. Any amount at all, if you are planning to release it into our community, is punishable by a felony, and you could be spending decades in jail. I think that's a really nice way to go about it. Nicely done. This is a good one.
Thanks. No, I'm glad you like it. I think that's how the majority of people across Colorado feel, is that these drug dealers have taken advantage of our laws and really are preying on our teenagers and our college students, and, even lying to them about what they're buying. That's why it's so important to make sure we include any kind of drug that's laced with fentanyl, because they often, like I said, tell them it's a Xanax, tell them it's something else. They don't even know that they are beginning to get addicted to fentanyl or potentially dying. Like I said, a lot of these families sharing their stories. And that's one thing you'll see on this campaign, is there's going to be a lot of families sharing their stories and putting them out there more in public. They already run these amazing organizations that are bringing awareness to the issue, and I think this campaign can help elevate their tragic real-life stories that they're willing to share even more.
That's Christy Burton Brown, Advance Colorado Initiative 85, making it to the ballot. You're going to be voting on that. It will actually get an updated number as it gets closer to the election, but this will be on your ballot. All right, so KBB, tell us about the strategy. How do you plan to win this? Do you need donations? What's going to be the messaging? All that, and do you expect tough pushback on this? Do you think the soft on crime people are going to organize, or are they just going to kind of, make some comments?
I'm sure they'll say things, Jeff. They made comments against our truth in sentencing measure that passed in 2024 and the funding for law enforcement that we passed the same year. But both of those, particularly truth in sentencing, polled so high that, I think the opposition realized that the majority of Coloradans are already here. Like, you're not going to really dissuade people from the idea that fentanyl on our streets is a really dangerous thing for our kids, that, like I said, almost everyone knows someone who has been affected by fentanyl, and many people know someone who's died from fentanyl. So those real-life scenarios and real-life facts, I think, are going to keep the polling on this really high. I would absolutely predict that this one passes pretty easily. On the campaign, we'll definitely focus on just the two prongs. This is going to hold drug dealers accountable, and it's going to provide compassionate treatment for users who need it. And then just like I was talking about, telling the stories. of family members of people who've died from fentanyl. That's extremely impactful. It's real life. It's true. It's horrible. And a measure like this, I think voters are going to see it could save real lives. And that's something everyone wants to participate in.
That's Christy Burton Brown, Advance Colorado. Typically, you guys are working on a number of different ballot initiatives. Anything else you're gathering signatures for next year?
Yes, we have a whole host of ballot measures that are still working their way through title board or collecting signatures on. We'll be turning in signatures on another one pretty soon on a anti-sanctuary state measure requiring law enforcement in Colorado to report to the Department of Homeland Security when they're dealing with violent and repeat felons. I think that's going to be really important to keeping Colorado safe. But our fee reform measure is another one I think people should really look at. As you know, fees in Colorado have increased by 3,400%. The legislature takes advantage of citizens by saying, well, fine, we won't ask you about a tax. We'll just charge you a whole bunch of fees. And so I think fee reform, defining what that is, making sure voters have a choice is really essential. It's one of our top ballot measures making its way through title board. We have retail and auto theft. We have something against child predators. Just a whole host of them people should look out for.
Golly, I love it. Because, look, there's different ways to make public policy. You can do it via your elected officials. You can do it via the citizen ballot initiative level. And what Advance Colorado has been able to prove is that voters are a lot more common sense than elected officials are many a times. And if you just take initiatives to them, they'll vote it, and Colorado will get better. But if you trust the people down at the state capitol, who, by the way, pass 500 laws a year, and Colorado just tends to get worse when they're in control, at least there's another way to do this. That's why I love Advance Colorado. They're actually making Colorado better. AdvanceColorado.org. Mr. Thorpe, you had another
I've
question?
got one more. I just want to throw in something from Mary from Wyoming that texted in, going back to the fentanyl measure. She was curious about number of beds for treatment in the state. Primarily, are there enough? And I would think that if there were enough people going through the program, the beds and programs would pop up. But is there any discussion about what happens to the people that may get pinched for the low level of possession and want to knock that felony off, but there aren't beds or treatment spots available? I know that individuals, I know personally in my social circle, that have some mental health issues, sometimes finding a therapist that will treat their specific problem can be very difficult, and they end up waiting months, if not over a year. Are we concerned at all about that, or is there anything inside the measure? I don't know if we've gone that far down the road. I'm just curious.
Sure. No, great question. So I do think there's a difference in mental health beds and drug rehab beds. They're like very different organizations that run the two of them, or the state has different beds for them. And so I think a lot of people have heard about Colorado lacking in the mental health, like civil commitment beds. So that is true. But on the fentanyl side, I think, for one thing, I don't think there's been reports about the state lacking beds on it right now. But I do think with more people, arguably being pushed into treatment who are low-level users, who obviously are going to want the misdemeanor instead of the felony, and hopefully are going to want to go get treatment, I do think we're going to need to see nonprofits across the state step up and create more of these rehab programs and more beds in rehab programs. It's a perfect opportunity for organizations that care for people like this, I think, to step up and increase the number of services that are available.
And plus, it'll give the community different alternatives as well, possibly, that'll bounce up, because every user might have some different profiles as far as why they got in and why they need to get out of the drug. So, yeah,
Right.
this could be a benefit. Yeah, I can see that.
It seems like it strikes a good tone, because on my end, do you know that little meme of the guy that's like straight to jail? Straight to jail.
Yeah.
Like, when it comes to drug issues, that's my take on it. Like, I'm tired of you poisoning our kids. I'm tired of you ruining families for profit. I'm tired of the crap constantly out there of people dying from drug overdoses or having their lives ruined. So I want strong accountability. And then, like with Mr. Thorpe, he's looking at, let's find ways, particularly if you're addicted and a user, to find ways to help you. It seems like it strikes a good tone on all of that. Christy Burton Brown, I'll give you the final word.
I mean, I agree with you. I think that's why it's so popular among voters. So I just encourage people to remember this is going to be the first ballot measure you will see on your ballot in 2026. The first one you're going to see, it's an easy yes, and it's going to save a lot of lives across the state.
Amen to that.
Oh, that top line placement's fantastic.
Go
That's
support
great.
Advance Colorado, advancecolorado.org, advancecolorado.org. Michael Fields, KBB, so many others doing great work there. We appreciate your time this morning. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you both.
All right. We'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Is this more of the failed war on drugs? It's out there. By the way, did you see Trump said that fentanyl was a weapon of mass destruction?
Oh, jeez.
That just came to mind. I should have asked KBB about that. But there you go.
Weird.
Weapons of mass destruction.
Yeah.
I mean, it's 100,000 people dying from fentanyl. Give us a call. What do you think of this ballot initiative? 303-696-1971. Text us on the Dan Capitalist Law Text line at 720-819-5115. We finally getting tough on the drugs ruining our communities, or is this going to penalize people that just need a hug? Give us a call. Join the conversation. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710, KNUS. Hey, we've talked about this one before. Yeah, this is Johnny Mathis's version, recorded after Perry Como and Andy Williams. Dean Martin's got a version of this. Dean Martin, probably the most famous, written by the woman that also wrote The Music Man musical. And the big question, though, is where? Because there are some things and some references inside of this song that makes people believe it may have been written at a hotel in Nova Scotia or in Iowa. Not sure which, because there's some references to the Grand Hotel and the Big Tree, but both locations the author would visit, and both locations have a hotel that can be described, if you look at it right, in the lyrics. So there's a fight between Iowa and Canada over where this song was written. Is it Nova Scotia?
Clearly
or is it in
Iowa.
Yeah, clearly Iowa, easily.
What comes out of Canada?
Yeah, other than
Besides
stupid geese.
Jim Carrey.
And stupid geese. Those are invasive species. Canadian geese. They're awful.
I love that Office episode where Dwight, I think, hits one with his car and brings it into the office
brings it into
to clean it.
Yeah. Yeah. This is a fun one. Yeah, it's interesting. Johnny Mathis does that in the 70s and becomes a pretty big hit for him. But it's not one of the first versions recorded. In fact, it took a while for Dean Martin's even to become a hit. He had recorded it for years, and it kind of languished, and then eventually became a hit. Yeah.
So we're talking Colorado voters deciding on harsher penalties for fentanyl on the 2026 ballot. It's going to be top line. First thing there, Initiative 85. Good on them at Advanced Colorado. Got out there, got the signatures, and it's going to make any possession of any amount of fentanyl a level 4 drug felony. Though the conviction could be vacated following a successful completion of court-ordered drug rehabilitation treatment. Possession with the intent to distribute, on the other hand, could result in a prison sentence of 8 to 32 years. Now, there's some discretion in there for the DA if they want to go, hey, tell us who gave you the package of drugs, and maybe we'll reduce it a little bit. Do you think this is a good move for Colorado, Mr. Thorpe? Would you, as the consummate independent on this program, support this?
Yeah, based on what I know right now, yeah, I think it looks really good. And what I appreciate the most about it is the trapdoor that's available for the users, because I think that is a tremendous motivation because of it being a felony. Remember, if you get picked up just for simple possession of anything even laced with fentanyl, it becomes a felony, and that means you then have to fill that out on job applications, mortgage applications, things like that, and then explain what it was that got you that felony. And putting down on a job application or mortgage application or anything like that, or a loan application, that I got a felony because of drug use, that's going to be maybe a major red flag, maybe a minor red flag. Now, if you go through treatment, it becomes the misdemeanor. So I think that's a win-win. And I do like the idea of making, for drug dealers, any possible possession is going to get you pinched and can throw you in jail for up to 3 decades. And I appreciate that, because we have heard from friend of the show, Stephen Tubbs, and everybody else over at the DEA, that these guys that are selling it on the street know exactly how much they can hold. And so what they do is, just for the conversation purposes, let's say, as it is here, right now, a gram is permissible. They can go out and they know they can hold a gram and nothing significant is going to happen to them. And then when they sell that, they just go back to the supplier. That's it. So it would be like if you were walking on your way to the Broncos game and they made a rule that nobody there at the Broncos game can have more than 5 T-shirts available for sale. You can't set up those little kiosks, or you can't have more than 5 burritos. All you'd do is you'd have someone 2 or 3 blocks away with a giant box of T-shirts or a giant thing of burritos, and then you would just sell them and run back and keep resupplying. That's easy. Restaurants do that right now. So why wouldn't the drug dealers do that? So that's where I think the big bonus is in these 2 points inside the measure. I think it's great.
Chest Rockwell texting in, here's a better law. Any person in possession of a gram should be made to consume it immediately.
Oh, I don't know, because the problem is that that's going to cost us money on the other end, one way or another. Because if that person starts to have negative effects, are you going to say, Well, the obvious thing we do is stand there and watch them die on the sidewalk. That's a tough one. But again, now what you're saying, though, is that possession is necessarily capital punishment, perhaps. And if we're going to do it and you may kill you or may not kill you, you might as well just have them play Russian roulette with the officer's gun and say, here, spin it. If you can spin it and it clicks and it's empty, you win, you walk free. You might as well do that. I understand the revenge factor in that, but that's what we got to figure out is, are we okay with that type of a capital punishment for this offense?
What I do find fascinating and would love to hear from all of the callers here is, and feel free to text us as well, phone line, by the way, to call 303-696-1971. Text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line at 720-819-5115. It feels like with Trump taking the drones and taking out those drug boats, and now Colorado wanting to get tougher penalties on fentanyl dealers, that whole critique that the war on drugs has failed seems to be over. Seems like we're ready to go back to war in a really big way. What do you think? Give us a call, 303-696-1971. Text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line, 720-819-5115. We'll continue. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader News Talk 710, KNUS. You and I have talked about this before. This is written by Gene Autry because of his experience in the Thanksgiving/Christmas parade. And he's positioned with his horse a few floats or right before, I don't remember how many, before Santa. And he said his entire experience in the parade wasn't, look, there's Gene Autry, look, Mom, Gene Autry. It was, oh my God, Mom, here comes Santa Claus! Ah! Then he said, yeah, that screaming, yelling, that was what really kind of pushed him. But he was asked to record another Christmas song, and they needed a B-side. And so he sat down, wrote the lyrics. They then penned the melody behind it, and it became a top 10 hit. In fact, opening up a brand new venue for him to be a singer. Gene Autry then became a holiday singer. This was Here Comes Santa Claus, the very first one, and then he's asked to do things like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer and things like that going forward. So it opened up an entire new avenue for him. This is kind of cool. Yeah, but this is Elvis's version.
Speaking of great people to talk to, Mary from Wyoming's on. Good morning, Mary. You're on with Jeff and Bill.
Yeah, morning.
Morning. I have a question, more or less, and that's what I'm struggling with. So I hope you'll bear with me. If, like many of the mothers, like I've told you folks, that my son died from a fentanyl overdose. It was in the marijuana that they were smoking. So his autopsy was it was a recreational overdose.
Oh, my gosh. I'm so sorry.
Thank you. That was just last year. The thing that I struggle with on that is that when he was young, he was a heroin addict. We got him off of all that, and he's always been a lifelong marijuana smoker, and that's legal. So I guess what I'm questioning is, just like the mothers whose children did the Xanax, is the Xanax off a street? Is that considered a illegal drug use?
Yes,
yeah,
I think so.
Yeah, it would be.
That requires a prescription.
Yeah, if they're buying it without a prescription, yeah.
Okay, so my point is, what happens to those folks? My son had a job. So I don't think that he intentionally smoked the marijuana. There were 3 of them. 2 of them died, and one, the Narcan worked on them. The question that I have, would they have to go through that drug treatment?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
If they're in possession of any fentanyl, up to a gram, yes, treatment, or if you're dealing it, 8 to 32 years in prison.
So my question is, do you realize how big that will be? Because there's so many marijuana users, they don't know that the fentanyl's in there. I don't believe my son knew that there was fentanyl in that marijuana he was smoking.
Yeah, and I think the point on this one is that since marijuana is legal, then you need to go get it at the dispensary. If you're buying your marijuana on the black market, it opens you up for all sorts of stuff that could get in there. And that would be, for me, that would be the messaging behind this. And also might be...
I've told him that.
Yeah.
I did it for the safety.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it wasn't that, but I'm just trying to say with you, you look at the black community, they are not going to go to they're going to go to the street drugs. It's cheaper. It's like going to Walmart and shop.
Yeah, and again, I'm not in the drug area, but I know that here in Colorado, the profit margins on the marijuana business have been falling, and I've seen reports that prices are falling. So I understand the idea of it being cheaper, but I wonder if the idea of how cheap for that high are you willing to mortgage or risk your life? And that may be the thing. And thanks for the phone call, Mary. It is a good question. It's a really good question.
It's going to have some impact on it, but
yeah.
Look, I'm primarily interested in the drug dealers. That's where it gets me. This is tough enough on them, but look, you can't be using fentanyl. I'm sorry, we've got to be tougher on it. Feel free to join the conversation. We'll continue. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
This is KNUS.